In this video, I'm going to talk about the brainstorming and organization process when you're preparing to write an essay. Whether it's an in-class essay or test or an essay you're writing at home, it's really important to take time for the planning process. It will make the writing process easier and your essay will be more coherent in the end. When I teach advanced writing classes, we practice this pre-writing process frequently because it's really challenging for a lot of students and it's so important for improving your writing. When you get your writing prompt, it often comes in the form of a question. So today we're going to practice brainstorming with the question, why is it important to learn a second language? Now, brainstorming means that we come up with as many ideas as we can without judging whether the ideas are good or bad. We just write everything down. So I'm going to open up a document and write as many ideas down as I can about this question, why is it important to study a second language? I'm going to shoot for 10 to 15 ideas, but if you want to, you can pause this video and try it yourself. You don't need to come up with as many ideas as I do, but try to come up with as many ideas as you can in just a few minutes. So now's the time to pause this video so that you can practice brainstorming. All right, now you can see my brainstorming. I'm going to try to come up with 10 to 15 ideas about this topic. All right, we're thinking about reasons why it's important to learn a second language. Let's see. It's fun. You can communicate with people around the world. You can get a higher paying job, sometimes. You can travel to new places more easily. Sometimes it's required for school. You can watch TV shows and movies in their original language without dubbing. What else? You can understand other cultures. I think language is so important for understanding other cultures. You can also learn to understand your own language better. I know I understand English way better because I've studied French and Spanish. So that helps a lot. You have the opportunity to live or work in another country if you can speak the language there. You can communicate with people in your community. Because I live in a pretty multilingual community, speaking another language can be really helpful. You could work for an international company. Why else? Oh, some people want to learn a second language so they can seem cooler or more attractive. Being bilingual is cool. Let's see, connecting with your family heritage. Maybe your family is from another culture or speaks another language from the one that you are growing up with. So you can connect with that heritage or with older family members who speak a different language from you. I think it's important. You can really increase your empathy. You can understand people better and their experiences by learning another language. I think you can also become more confident by learning another language. Okay, I've got 15, so I'm going to stop now so that we can go to the next step. So you can see there are a lot of reasons why it's important to learn a second language. And maybe you even came up with some reasons that I didn't come up with. Because it's true, there are a lot of good reasons to learn a second language. Now, we won't use all of these ideas in one 5-paragraph essay, but it's really useful to do this brainstorming because now we have 15 ideas and we can pick and choose the best ones. And that's what we're going to do in the organization process. In order to organize some of these ideas into an essay, we're going to look for ideas that are related to each other, ideas that fit together somehow. So let's look back at our document. You can see I've got my list from my brainstorming and I've got a little table with some columns to try organizing these ideas. So each column is going to be sort of a group of related ideas for me. So we can see something like travel to new places more easily is really similar to, it's really related to living and working in another country because it talks about travel. What else is connected? We have something like getting a higher paying job. That one is really similar to other things about work, like, again, living and working in another country. That's about work. And we also have working for an international company. These are all about work. And school is kind of related. We'll add in this, it's required for school. Work and school are kind of related. So that group kind of goes together. Which other ones go together? Learning about new cultures. Where was that? Understanding other cultures. Understanding your own language better. Because that way you're learning about your own language and your own culture as well. And same with connecting with your family heritage. These are all related to like culture learning. Let's see. There are also options for communicating with people, specifically about people. Communicating with people around the world. Here we talked about communicating with older family members. Oh, and communicating with people in your own community. So this is all about the people that you can connect to by learning a second language. Let's add one more column here. We also have things like it's fun and you seem cooler or more attractive. These are more like personal benefits to your personality or your character development. And that might include things like these last two about increasing empathy and becoming more confident. So once we have these all sort of grouped together in similar topics, we'll look a little bit more closely at that organization. I'm going to add a row above here, and we're going to try to name these categories. This one I think is all about travel. And maybe you thought that travel would be like the #1 topic when you heard this question, but not so many of our brainstorming topics fit in that category. That's interesting. This one is all about work and school. This one is all about learning about culture. Here we are all talking about communicating with people. And this one is sort of about your personal benefits. So each one of these groups has the potential to be a body paragraph of an essay about the topic, why is it important to study a second language? So we have several options now. We have 5 different options for our body paragraph. And if we're writing a 5-paragraph essay, we're going to need 3 body paragraphs, right? And when we choose those body paragraphs, we want to make sure that each one answers the question and doesn't overlap too much with the other body paragraphs, that they're not too connected or related. Each paragraph is going to be giving a different answer to that question, so that no paragraph repeats the ideas from another paragraph. So let's look at our table again and try to pick which paragraph topics we think will work best. I'm looking at this first column, travel, and I think that it's going to end up being too similar to communicating with people, because a lot of the travel benefits about traveling to new places and living in another country, it's related to being able to communicate with the people in that country. So I'm going to need to choose between those two, and maybe we can borrow some ideas from the other one in the essay. But because this one has a little bit more detail, more support for the paragraph, I'm going to choose communicating with people. for one of my body paragraphs, and I'm going to delete travel as one of my options. And again, that might be surprising because when you first heard this question, maybe you thought travel was the best answer. But when you brainstorm, it doesn't always turn out the way that you thought it would. All right, so I want to choose 2 more. If I want them all to be very distinct, I think what I'm going to choose is the work or school topic and the personal benefits. Because these 3 topics, work and school, communicating with people, and personal benefits, are all pretty distinct. The only problem area, I think, is that I'll need to be careful about communicating with people and work or school. To make sure that in my work and school topic, I'm not talking about the communication skills in that job. I'm just focused on the work benefits of having a second language. And I look at this category and I think we have enough detail here that we can remove school from the category. That way this paragraph is just really focused on jobs or your professional life. So now we have the 3 topics for our body paragraphs: work, communicating with different people, and personal benefits. So each of these categories we've chosen will be one of the body paragraphs of our essay. And all of the bullet points in the table are going to be our supporting details for those paragraphs. So pretty much you already have an outline for your essay, or at least for the body paragraphs of your essay. When I follow this process, I'm often surprised by the ideas that I do and don't include in the final outline, because often the most obvious answer to the question maybe doesn't have enough supporting details to create a really full and developed paragraph. If your teacher has told you that you need to work on developing or expanding your ideas more, that might be your problem. Maybe you tend to stick to one really great and obvious idea to answer the question, but there aren't that many details to fill it in. Doing a fuller brainstorming process like the one we just practiced can help you to develop your paragraphs more and make sure you have a lot to say about each topic. When I assign an essay to my students, I often give them 2 or 3 essay prompts as options. If your teacher does the same thing, I encourage you to brainstorm for at least 2 of them. Sometimes just reading the prompt isn't enough to tell you which one is going to be easier for you to write or which one you will be able to write a better essay about, and brainstorming will really help you to make a better choice. Maybe one of the topics seems easier or more obvious to you, but once you start brainstorming, you realize you don't have enough ideas to really fill in an entire essay. If you brainstorm for both topics, then you'll get a better idea about which one you'll be more successful at writing an essay about. The same is true if you're assigned an argument essay, where you need to argue in favor or against something. I encourage you to brainstorm both sides of the argument before you decide which side to take. Maybe you won't actually write an essay about the side you agree with, but you'll be able to figure out which side you have a fuller argument about, which one has more compelling details, even if you disagree with them. The more you practice this brainstorming technique, the easier it will get and the better results you'll get. I encourage you to practice this alone, but also to practice sometimes with a couple of classmates or friends. Sometimes your classmates will have different ideas from you or different ways of thinking about the question, and that will help to get your ideas moving. I'll put some extra writing prompts in the description of this video so that you can practice brainstorming more today. Have a great day!